There's been a few reports, guys, of problems with the F-150 Lightning electric pickup truck. There has been, but the truth is, actually, it's a pretty good truck. Actually, when you consider what owners are really experiencing, there's a few software glitches, but the truth is that the battery pack in the F-150 Lightning is incredibly good, and it's going to last for an insanely long time. In fact, it'll outlast the life of any internal combustion engine Ford pickup truck. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to see you. The big challenge that I see with the Ford F-150 Lightning pickup truck is just the fact that the fast charging is capped at 150 kilowatt, which, considering it's got a very large battery, it's not great for, super fast charging when you're doing a road trip. But other than that, actually, for the price that the F-150 Lightning costs, it's remarkably good. And when you look at what owners are saying, owners are saying that the battery pack has 97% state of charge left. In other words, almost no battery degradation after nearly 100,000 miles. You cannot say that about the engine in an internal combustion vehicle. 97%. That is truly remarkable. Now, it's hard to believe that anyone who has bought an F-150 Lightning has driven that far, but someone has. I think he's done nearly 94,000 miles on his truck. That's in the space of 21 months. So that means he's driven around 4,500 miles every month, 53,000 miles yearly. That's a lot of driving. The guy, though, who owns this truck, he owns, I believe, the furthest driven F-150 Lightning. Now, if you have one that you've driven further than this guy, let us know in the comments and let us know your experience. Now, he said this: no one, and I mean no one, really wants to sit behind the wheel of a Lightning for 93,000 miles in 21 months. In other words, he's saying it's just a ridiculous amount of driving. He's not criticizing the vehicle. He's saying it's sort of a waste of your life, right? Doing this much driving. What can I say? It doesn't seem like it has been that long and that far. But alas, it has been. This time the thrills were cheap, the charging cheaper, and the highs were mile high. Now, he's released his experience. It's quite interesting. One of the things he criticizes that I don't think he should be, he says this: I still hate the tires as I continue picking up nails and or screws here and there. Now, in my opinion, that's not a fair criticism. The reason I say that is because he's driving the thing on the same set of tires for too long. He needs to change his tires more often. He said he's driven 47,000 miles on his current second set of tires. So 47,000 miles on this current set of tires. If he changes the tires, he'll get a lot less punctures. So generally, that's what happens. When your tires get towards the end of their life, they're going to get a lot more punctures. I'm sure he's gotten more in the early stages as well. But the truth is, that's a problem here, guys. So that's my tip. Change your tires more frequently and you're less likely to get punctures. Anyway, the paint. He says the paint's holding up really well considering the amount of driving it's done. Charging. All right, this is the interesting thing here. He says keeping all of the apps, including EV Connect, ChargePoint, EA, Tesla, PlugShare, etc., on my phone and perusing them every so often. Looking at the apps every so often for free charges has really paid off. Here's a circuit where he drives 200 miles, where he only pays 50 cents, exactly 53 cents to drive 200 miles. That's just insane. He says he's looking forward to getting access to the Tesla network. Having that as a backup that'll be amazing, obviously. The battery pack. He says he predominantly charges at home using a 15.9 kilowatt AC charger. That's a pretty fast AC charger. Most people can't charge at those speeds at home. So that's impressive. I'm confident that I've charged it 600 to 700 times in the past 21 months. He's charging every single day, in other words. Normally, I cap charging at 90%, but over the past few months, I've capped it at a lower rate. He said I've come home twice now below 10%, which rarely happened before the charge. Now, what we know from evidence from electric car studies done by Recurrent, they said that Tesla cars that were DC fast charged often and frequently, even above the 80% cap, they had pretty much very, very limited battery degradation and it barely made any difference. So I'm starting to find out this DC fast charging doesn't really affect your battery pack that much anymore. It used to with older electric cars, doesn't really anymore. So that's kind of cool. Battery health, the high voltage battery state of health, according to CarScan, is 97%. Now, we're talking a car here that's done nearly 94,000 miles. So, over 150,000 kilometers, and it's at 97% state of charge. In other words, the battery has barely been affected from this much driving. It's pretty incredible. Now, if you consider that a typical lithium-ion battery degrades more quickly at first and then tapers off over time, it seems like the battery packs that Ford are using from SK On are incredibly good. Now, this is not a lithium iron phosphate battery pack. So this battery degradation is extremely impressive. The owner said he believes that charging to 100% should be avoided if you can. That'll help your battery life. I never let it sit at 100%, he claims. Now, some owners do this with their Teslas, I've heard, and mostly, in fact, to be honest, I don't think it's an issue. Now, I don't know about Ford EVs though. Letting it run below 10% should make you feel as guilty as when your wife catches you looking at that new hot neighbor, he said. Well, I haven't had any hot neighbors for a while. But anyway, slow charge whenever possible. Temperature. Heat kills lithium-ion batteries. Now, I don't agree with him. He claims this, but I don't think that's true anymore. It used to be the case when batteries didn't have proper thermal management. They do these days, and it's not really an issue anymore. I used to charge 90% daily at home, but have now lowered that to 80%. Now, I don't think that's going to make any difference. The guy's battery has almost no degradation, so I think he should have just kept doing what he was doing, because it was working fine. Also note the vast majority of my miles are highway miles, so there are not 10 million little charges like in the city. Now, the truth is, the guy is charging more than, from what we can tell, at least once a day. He's charging extremely frequently. He's fast charging his battery, he's slow charging his battery. The degradation is it's minuscule. It's almost nothing. So, you know what? Kudos to Ford. I think you guys have done a pretty good job here with this battery pack. Hey, this is incredibly impressive. And I think we're going to see this kind of story for a lot of electric cars now. We're starting to see more and more EVs. We're starting to see, to be honest, a lot of Teslas, because we have data from them, but specifically Model 3s now with over 300,000 miles of driving being done on the same battery and very, very limited battery degradation. So EVs have massively improved over the past 5 years. Thanks for watching.